Well, it's good to be back in this spot. For those of you who don't know, I've been out the last couple of weeks. Last week I was here, but they did the presentation on Jamaica on the mission trip, and the week before that we were on vacation, and Dean filled in doing the fifth commandment. So it's good to be back here, being able to do what I do generally on Sunday mornings, and to proclaim the Word of God to you. This week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not sure which. Carrie sent me a text and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm working on my sermon." And she said, "You remember how to do that." So it's not just you who thought I was gone. Everybody was like, "It's time for you to get back to work." So I'm glad to be right here this week. As I was preparing for this message, and we're on the sixth commandment. We'll talk about that. It's kind of fitting that on our board, which we put each week a little something that has to do with the message. This week it's the word hate, and I was so devastated and angry and sad yesterday to see what happened and what has been happening in Charlottesville, Virginia, and just the hate, the level of hatred that is there and causing this problem and this issue and this violence that's going on. And I just wanted to start out by saying that on every level possible, I can't say in stronger terms that I condemn the ideology behind what's happening. That there's no place in our country, but for sure there's no place in the church for white nationalism. This ideology that a people group is elevated above another is contrary to God and contrary to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Christ didn't die for white people. He didn't die for one person or another. God didn't create white people and black people. God created people. And we look different. And praise God for that, right? Because if we all look like, I'm not going to mention any names. It wouldn't be good. But God created this beautiful picture of Himself in all of us. And we bear the image of God, each and every one of us, and we can't fulfill that in ourselves because we're not God. But when you take people as a whole and you kind of get a picture of what God is like. And so all of us are created in the image of God, and any kind of attempt to elevate one group or class of people is incredibly wrong. And we're going to be talking about some of that, and it fits in with today's message as we talk about the sixth commandment. 2 weeks ago, Dean did the fifth commandment, which is honor your parents. This section of the Ten Commandments, starting with that one, is this idea and focusing on people. And the first part of the commandments is our relationship with God. It's kind of this vertical idea. And the second half plus one is our relationship with people. But the truth of the matter is that we can't have a right relationship with God until we have a right relationship with people. And so these things go together. And we're talking about the sixth commandment, which comes out of Exodus chapter 20, verse 13, which says, "Do not murder." And I think as a people, not just us here in this room, but people in general, we love murder. Now, that's kind of shocking to say, right? Most of us wouldn't say that out loud, but all of our entertainment, mostly, all of the books we read. In fact, while we were on vacation, I read 2 novels that were all about murder. It was like this murder mysteries, the parents have said it about video games for a long time. We are a people consumed with murder. Last night, as I was kind of watching the news coverage of what was going on in Charlottesville, most of the coverage was about the car that drove. I don't know how many of you saw this, but a car drove down the street and crashed into some people, killing one person. And that's tragic. The underlying issue is racism, but this murder of this person grabbed the news. And it's because we're a people consumed with murder. And so as we think about this commandment number 6, do not murder, most of us would say, okay, good. I can relax on this one, right? I mean, I struggle with honoring my parents. Sometimes I take God's name in vain. Sometimes I don't put God in first place. But on this one, I'm good, right? On this one, at least, as far as I know, please, don't raise your hand. But as far as I know, none of us in here have committed murder, right? We're pretty good on this one. But I'm going to argue this morning that all of us in this room have violated the principle, the heart of this command. You see, at the heart of this command, the idea behind the command that God gave here, do not murder, it is not necessarily about the act of murder, though certainly that's a big part of it. That at the heart of this command, the very principle of this idea, is a respect for life. And all of us, at one point or another, have struggled to respect life the way we ought to. Now, if I were to go around person by person and begin asking you, what do you think about when you think about murder? Well, a lot of us would probably have different ideas, what different things pop into our head when we think about murder. So this week I was trying to think about what I would think about. And this was before the events of yesterday and the day before leading up to the violence of yesterday. So here's some things that I thought about when I thought about murder. I thought about terrorism. Terrorism's a big deal in our world right now, right? I mean, there's in fact, I read an article this week that said that, according to CNN, in 2016, there were 29,376 people who were murdered in terrorist acts. Nearly 30,000 people died in the hands of terrorists. So maybe if I ask you, what do you think about when you think about murder, you might say, well, terrorism. Maybe somebody else would say, well, I think about right now in the news, there's a lot of murders that are happening in the city of Chicago. I don't know how many of you realize that in 2016, there were 762 murders in the city of Chicago alone. That's up 60% from the year before. There's a lot of murder happening in the city of Chicago. That's one of the things that popped into my head. But as I was looking this up and kind of doing some research, what I found out is that per capita, St. Louis far outpaces the city of Chicago in murders. In fact, more than double per 100,000. St. Louis is you have a far better chance of being murdered in St. Louis than Chicago. Another big one that I thought about was one that many people don't think about when they think about murder, and it's we kind of have a generally whatever attitude about it. It's abortion. And according to the CDC in 2013, which is the most recent numbers they have, there were 664,435 abortions in America alone. More than 500,000. And we think about terrorism and how many people die at the hands of terrorism worldwide. In America alone, there are 22 times more abortions. I think we as a people, in general, we love murder. I'm going to argue that you and I aren't excluded. It's not a modern problem. You think, well, yeah, our world's getting bad. It's kind of devolving into this thing where people are killing people. And we started out where everybody was really good and this gradual decline into what we are now. But murder's not a modern problem. This love for violence and this love for murder, and we've had a taste for that since people existed. In fact, the first ever recorded death in human history was murder. Genesis 4, verse 8, Cain spoke to his brother. When they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother and he killed him. The very first death in human history was a murder. As we think about this issue of murder, when we think about one person putting to death another, the issue that we struggle with as a people, I think there are two big issues that are at the heart of this command that we struggle with. So the first one is that God is sovereign. Right? I mean, you have a lifespan, and I have a lifespan, and God is sovereign over that. God alone gets to decide when our lives begin and when our lives end. Murder is an attempt to take away from God what is His and put it into our own hands. God has sovereignty over that. I don't get to decide when you die. I don't get to decide when I die. God decides that. God is sovereign. The second major issue is that people are sacred. People are created in the image of a sacred God, and so people are sacred. And we see this as God was preparing Noah to his family after the flood to give them authority and to begin to reign after all of these people had been wiped out. God gave Noah and his family the authority to kill and eat animals. This is the first time this happened in human history. They began to do this. But as God gave Noah and his people the right to kill and eat animals, He did not give them the right to kill and eat people, or even to kill people. God said this in Genesis chapter 9, verse 5 and 6. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it. From man, from his fellow man. I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. What God is saying here, as he's talking about this, is that people, not just man, he's talking about mankind there, people are valuable. People matter. There's something about people that elevates people to a status of above animals, above the rest of creation, to where we matter. And when we kill someone else, or when we are killed by someone else, there is going to be a reckoning. God calls that to account. God says, for the person who takes a man's life, by man shall that person's life be taken. And God's point here is not that you can't do that or you shouldn't do that, but it's that people are immensely valuable. We cannot put a value on people. They are more valuable, I think, than we can even imagine. In fact, in Numbers 35:31, God told the people of Israel, moreover, you shall accept no ransom for the life of a murderer, who is guilty of death, but he shall be put to death. This is the idea, so just so you understand the idea behind this. What happened was, in ancient Israel, if a person was murdered in your family would then elect someone, generally it would be somebody who would be a close relative, to be the avenger of blood. Right? And so the avenger of blood, this sounds barbaric from our ears today, but this is the way they dealt with it. The avenger of blood would then go after the murderer. Okay, so that person killed your sister, let's say. Now you're in charge of going and avenging her blood. You would go and you would put to death the murderer. Well, a lot of times, or what people would often try to do then, is to say, you know what? I killed your sister. I did a bad thing. I was wrong. But here is $2 million. If you let me go, here, I'll give you this money. Of course, they didn't use dollars. They didn't have dollars back then, but I'm just giving you an idea. And what God is saying is, no, you can't do that. You cannot accept a ransom for the life of a murderer because people's lives are far too valuable for that. God is saying there's no amount, there's no value that you can place on a human life. People are valuable. You can't murder and get away with it. So this leads some people to question. In fact, I read some atheist websites this week. I've often wondered if ever somebody looked at my Google history, they would think, what is going on? What do atheists think about murder? And so again, this is what I came up with. Well, a lot of atheists question this idea about God. How can God say do not murder, yet God himself goes out and he tells the Israelites to wipe these people out, or to do that, or to make sure that person is put to death? Remember, God is God. God has the authority to say when our life begins and when it ends. God is sovereign. He determines the number of our days. And for God to put us to death is not murder. It's God simply doing what is right for him to do. And that's difficult to understand. I acknowledge that. If you want to talk more about that, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. But for us to begin to understand this idea of the sixth commandment and what this means and how this applies to our lives, I think we have to define the terms. What does God mean exactly in this command when he talks about murder? For those of you who grew up maybe in the church a long time ago, you remember the King James Version of the Bible, right? In the King James, the verse is translated, do not kill. And so in the King James Version, it doesn't say do not murder, it says do not kill. And so many people, they take kind of their cue from that, and any kind of violation or to violate this command would be any kind of death at someone else's hand. But actually, that's a bad translation. God didn't really mean do not kill. We're going to talk about some of this here as we go forward. God defines what he meant, and not only here, but moving forward throughout the Old Testament, we get an idea of what God means as he distinguishes between different types of killing. First of all, number one, there's in the Old Testament premeditated murder. And we know this. It's not just Old Testament, right? There's premeditated murder now. But God began distinguishing a little bit by different types of killings, and one of them was premeditated murder. In Numbers 35, 20, 21, we learned about this. Premeditated murder says this, and if he pushed him out of hatred or hurled something at him lying in wait so that he died, or in enmity struck him down with his hand so that he died, then he who struck the blow shall be put to death. He is a murderer. Pretty clear, right? If you push someone out of hatred, they fall down, hit their head, and they die, that's murder. If you throw a rock at somebody and they die, that's murder. If you just get mad and you punch somebody and they die, that's murder. And finally it says, the avenger of blood, this is what we talked about a minute ago, the avenger of blood shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. So that's premeditated murder. When you plan something out, or when you do something, when you act in anger and you kill somebody, that's pretty clear. That's premeditated murder. That is a violation of God's commandment. Another type of killing listed in the law is accidental homicide. If you were to go through and read the rest of that chapter there in Numbers 35, it details some accidental things that happen. Like if you were just throwing a rock and you accidentally hit somebody and it kills them, that's not murder. It's different. It's a terrible thing. It's a tragedy, but it's not exactly the same thing. I'll tell you a story. One of the scariest moments of my life. When we lived in Kentucky, we lived across the street from a park, and everything we did was at the park. So we would oftentimes walk over, or when we had to shuttle young kids, we'd just drive over. But we played soccer and baseball. There was all kinds of stuff that happened at the park. Well, one day I go over to the park and we're doing a practice of some sort. I don't even remember if it was baseball or soccer or what, but I saw we walk over. We're walking through the field. There's a piece of metal on the ground, and I pick it up and I realize it's about this big, and it's the end cap of a bleacher. You guys kind of track it with me now. It's this kind of cap that they put on there to kind of keep the sharp edges from people cutting their leg when they sit down or whatever. And they had moved the bleachers around, and there was just kind of some, a piece fell off. And so I picked it up, and to kind of get it off the field, I took it and I threw it. And I mean, I threw a ball. It's a good arm, you should have seen. But that thing started doing a boomerang, like this, all the way across. And I'm tracking it with my eyes, and I see it's headed for this set of bleachers over here, and there's a man sitting there by himself. And I was like, no, is that, no, it's not. And that thing, I'm telling you, it nearly hit this guy. And it probably missed him by about 2 feet or so, maybe 3, but it hit the bleachers that he was sitting on, and he jumped, and my heart nearly stopped. If that thing had hit him in the head, it would have killed him. Well, it would have been accidental homicide. Hopefully, I wouldn't have gone to jail if that thing would happen. But I'm just glad that it didn't hit him. We put it by that way. So this is just maybe a poor illustration of how an accidental homicide might happen. I walked over to that guy and I said, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I threw it that way, and it went that way, and I promise my arm's not that bad. It's just this boomerang thing." It was a scary moment. But accidental homicide is another type of killing that is not condemned as violating the Sixth Commandment. In the law, we also learn about justifiable homicide. This is a kind of one that's can be in the news today, even, which is kind of people have back and forth takes on this idea of justifiable homicide. In Exodus 22:2, it says, "If a thief is found breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him." And so God allowed for someone to defend themselves with their property. If a thief's breaking in and you do something and they die, well, that's justifiable homicide. God allows you to defend yourself. Especially those who are called upon to protect the innocent. I think about the military, or I think about police officers who are called to protect innocent people. This is their job. Right? I think God would consider a death like that justifiable. Not good, right? Not something we hope happens, but not falling under the shadow or under the heading of murder itself. Over and over, we read about in the Bible about killing in war, which is another type of killing. War is a terrible thing. Very few people. I was almost, as I was writing this, in fact, maybe I had to take it out. I maybe wrote no one. My thought goes to no one likes war, but that's not true. Some people do, but very few people like war or want war. And if they do like war or want war, then they should not be in charge of an army. But it appears that killing in war throughout the Old Testament, it is not murder, assuming that the person who is involved in this is following through on what they know or believe to be noble commands. God never says you can't be a soldier and follow him. Right? So killing in war apparently doesn't fall under the heading of murder. Last one is a difficult one for me, and it's capital punishment. It's one that I struggle with. But throughout the Old Testament, capital punishment is a thing. It's a type of punishment, a type of killing that the Bible doesn't condemn as murder. In Romans we read that God gives the government or the state the authority to punish the wrongdoer. And so if you're under the authority of a government, we're called to do what the government says, and we can be punished by them if we don't, up to and including death. So these are all ways that the Bible talks about death. One of them, the premeditated, falls under the heading of murder. The rest of these are different types of killing that I believe would not be in violation of this sixth commandment. But even so, even if this commandment doesn't mean any of those things except specifically premeditated murder, I believe that we are all still guilty of violating this sixth commandment. And those things that I just mentioned are how we follow the letter of the law. But the heart of the issue is infinitely more complex. It's incredibly complex. And we see kind of the heart of the issue. We see what this idea of this command really means in Matthew chapter 1 when Jesus, or 21, or Matthew chapter 5, verse 21, where Jesus defines murder as an attitude. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and open them up to Matthew chapter 5. If you don't have a Bible, by the way, if you don't have a Bible with you, feel free to grab one of those in the pew in front of you. Take that home with you as a gift from Snellville Christian Church. We want everyone to have access to God's Word, so those Bibles are there for anyone who needs them. And we're going to be on Matthew chapter 5, which in the pew Bible is going to be on page 810. And these are the words of Jesus, and this is the Sermon on the Mount. This is one of the longest, or this is the longest recorded sermon that we have of Jesus. But he's talking about all of these different ideas. And in verse 21, he begins to talk about this sixth command, do not murder. All right, Matthew chapter 5, verse 21. Jesus says this. You have heard that it was said to those of old, he's talking about looking back to the Israelites. This is where we go back, when we go back all the way to the Old Testament. You've heard that God said to the people of old, you shall not murder. Right? I mean, everybody would be shaking their heads at this as Jesus is preaching the sermon, and they probably would have said, amen. Yeah, we've heard that. In fact, I remember my grandma telling me that all the time. You shall not murder. Amen, Jesus, right? And he says, and whoever murders will be liable to the judgment. Yep, we know that. You murder, you go to jail. In fact, eventually you lose your life. Verse 22, Jesus turns this on its head. He says, but I say to you, that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. All people, I imagine, will be like, oh, wait a minute. Jesus, we're talking about murder here. You talk about something about me being angry with my brother. What do you mean? I don't think, Jesus, what happened here? We were talking about murder. Everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to the judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire. I don't know what it was like when Jesus was preaching that sermon. But I bet he didn't get any amens on that. Because they're saying, well, wait a minute, Jesus. No, God said, do not murder. And all of us here were clear because none of us have murdered. But you're saying that if I'm angry or if I say something wrong, if I call somebody a fool, then I'm liable to the hell of fire. Jesus, what in the world are you talking about? Jesus redefines murder as something more than just people who get out and lose their control or lose their cool, get mad, or they kill somebody for dishonest gain. Jesus is defining murder as an attitude of the heart. And this is why I say that all of us, every single one of us, have crossed the line when it comes to this command. Because all of us have had a murderous attitude in some point or another in our life. And that's what I was thinking last night about what happened in Charlottesville. And I think about the wicked heart of a racist. And I want to say that this kind of idea, this kind of thought that one race is elevated another is from Satan. It's evil. And that kind of wicked heart, that kind of a murderous attitude, that idea that we're going to go out and we hate people because of who they are or what they look like or where they come from, that Jesus would say those people are in violation of the sixth command. They are murderers at heart. Even if the act itself isn't present. One person was murdered yesterday when that car drove through. But even if that person had never driven that car and no one had died, the heart would still be the same. Each and every person who was there promoting hatred of someone else is in violation of the sixth command. They are murderers in their hearts. They have a murderous attitude towards those who look different. And as Jesus defines murder, we have to admit that each and every one of us ought to be lumped into the same crowd as those people who have violated this sixth command. And again, those listening to Jesus would have been like, whoa, wait a minute, Jesus. You're blowing my mind here. Because murder is not an attitude, right? Murder is something that we do. Because they were thinking about the letter of the law. Jesus gets to the heart. The letter of the law says don't murder. But the intent of the command went much deeper than that. The intent was to acknowledge people for who they are. The intent of the command was to see worth and value in every single individual. And when that goes away, we might as well murder because we've already done it in our heart. Jesus said, insulting your brother, calling your neighbor a fool, makes you guilty of violating this command. Uh-oh. Now to be clear, there are instances when people act foolish and they need to be called out. Jesus did this to the Pharisees in lots of places. My favorite is Matthew 23. If you want to see Jesus tear the Pharisees, read Matthew chapter 23. At one point, over and over, he says, woe to you, Pharisees. At one point, he calls them fools because they were. So what Jesus is not saying is that we can't state the obvious when somebody's being foolish. He doesn't say don't acknowledge that. What he's trying to get us to recognize is the seeds of murderous heart growing within us. Rarely does anyone murder someone on the spur of the moment. I'm sure it happens. And I would imagine it takes an especially evil person to just murder somebody without ever thinking about them or knowing them. Generally, when murder happens, it takes time for dissension to build. It takes time for you to grow a hatred of that person. It takes time for you to cultivate this murderous attitude and for it to grow in your heart and in your life. But it starts small as a seed in the heart. If a terrorist blows up himself and others, it's not because he likes explosions. Right? There's a deep-seated attitude within that person about other people. That's the foundation of the action. The same can be said for any violent action, for any violent act against someone else. If we hate somebody because of their religion, if we hate somebody because of their race, or for any other reason, if we hate enough, long enough, that action, that idea grows into action. And so what Jesus is doing is he's saying, look, don't get to the end point. I've had lots of people ask me, as a Christian, can I do that? Can I do this thing? Right? I don't even name the thing, whatever. Can I do this thing? And what they're saying is, how close can I get to the line before going over, right? And so the people of Israel would say, Jesus, we know where the line is on murder, right? I mean, it's obvious. When we kill somebody, we've crossed the line. And so as long as we get close to the line, it's no big deal, right? And Jesus is saying, no, you're thinking about it wrong. It's not how close we can get to the line without crossing over. It's what gets us to the line in the first place. And Jesus would say it's the attitude of our heart. And God knows that all of us are inclined towards this murderous attitude. Most of us would never play out murder in our real life. But we allow sometimes this murderous seed to grow in us, to grow and grow and grow and grow. And maybe you don't think you struggle with this, but I bet if the factors were right, I bet if these things lined up in your life, so many of us are sitting on a hair trigger. If those factors happened just right, we would explode. For you, maybe it takes being in traffic. You're late, you're in a hurry, you're trying to get there. And why is she going 4 miles an hour under the speed limit? And and before long, somebody else cuts you off, and all of these seeds, and you've been doing it for years and years and years, and all of these seeds are planted in your heart, And every single morning when it gets bad, you cultivate that murderous attitude in your heart, and these seeds begin to grow. Maybe it's being around your family. Your husband will not get off the couch. Or your wife, she just nags. I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just saying. Right? She just nags and nags. And that seed grows in your heart. Or whatever the situation in your life, Jesus declares to us that people are valuable. People matter. And our murderous attitudes towards them need to change. If we truly want to be a people who doesn't violate this command, do not murder, then we need to not think about it in terms of how close can I get to the line, but how can I make sure that I value people? How can I make sure that in my life, people are elevated? How can I break the cycle of love and murder? I think the opposite of having a murderous attitude is to have an attitude of love. This is why it's so important. We talk about it all the time. To love God and love people is because when we love people, we are elevating people. We are valuing people. If we're going to live out this command, do not murder, it goes beyond just not doing the act. It goes to doing something for people. And it's loving people. We've got to elevate people and value people. Knowing that every single person, the person that cuts us off in traffic, the person we struggle with at work, the person, whatever, every single person that we come into contact with in our life is valued by God. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what attitude they have. God loves them and they're valuable. And so we are called to love and value people. Imagine what Christians would look like if really we played this out. In a world filled with murder. How different would the church look if Christians didn't have their hearts riddled with the seeds of murder, but instead loved people? Went out of their way to care for people. Went out of their way to show people that you are valuable. I don't know you, but I love you. I have no doubt that the world would see the church as a place where people can come and be loved, where hearts change, where the heart of the murderers is now different because he sees people as valuable. Christians, we have to love people. And that means doing all kinds of things for them. Things that are hard, things that take us time and money. And when we care for people, the church is elevated. Christ's name is elevated. That's why I was so disgusted in part yesterday, because these white nationalists so often like to attach themselves to Christianity. And it makes Christ look bad, and it makes the church look bad. It gives all of us a bad name. But when we care for people, God is exalted. When Christians take in foster kids, God is exalted. When we feed the hungry, Christ's name is lifted up. When we travel to Jamaica and help those who are less fortunate than ourselves, when we give school supplies to the school down the road, to the teachers, the students who need them, when we have a party or a cookout and invite our neighbors, we are living out the sixth commandment. Not as a negative, do not, but as something to do. We're loving people. It's hard to imagine just how valuable you love the people that are sitting around you in this room. But it's hard to imagine just how valuable that person next to you really is. Or your neighbor. Or the person driving the car next to you on the street. But remember, that person, the one who brings these attitudes and feelings, good and bad, in you, is so loved by God that God sent Jesus to die for him, for her. And not just for her, but for you and for me. God loves us so much. We are so valued by God. And the church is all about connecting people. Snellville Christian Church is all about connecting people to each other and to God. And that's the two most loving things that we can do. to grow in Christ's likeness, to be more like Him. We want the people to see us and say, man, that person doesn't look anything like those nutballs we saw on TV. So let's grow and be more like Jesus. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to grow with us? To get rid of the murderous attitudes of your heart? And to let people see Christ in you? In a moment, we're going to sing a song. It's kind of a way to kind of wrap the message up and to close this out. During this time, I just want you to think about that. And probably in your own mind, you've already thought about some ways you've kind of had these murderous attitudes towards other people. Think about how you can value people. How can you elevate people, lift them up? How can people see Christ in you by the way you love and live? For some of you, you're maybe not Christians yet. You've not taken that step of following Jesus. And I would love for you to come forward during this song and let me tell you about what needs to happen for you to take those first steps to becoming a Christ follower. If you're not comfortable doing that, it's okay, I understand. Come see me anytime. The invitation is always open. God's arms are always open, ready for you to come. Let me pray. God, thank you so much for your love for us. It sounds like such a simple command. Do not murder. But God, the heart of the issue is so much bigger than that. God, we struggle with it. We struggle with respecting people and having a murderous attitude. Father, I pray that you would help us be able to get a grip on that, knowing that the way to get rid of that is to love you and to love others. God, I want to pray for the situation in Charlottesville, Virginia, and not just there, but all over the country where some of these ideas try to take root. Lord, help us to be people who speak out against them. Lead the way in love. Father, most of all, I'm thankful that Jesus died for us so that we can be forgiven. I don't deserve it, but I thank you for your grace. It's in Jesus' name I pray.